doing, guys? I want to take a moment to introduce Amir Al-Khayat. He's the founder here and CEO of West Shores Realty. They're a brokerage local here to the South Bay. They're also covering LA, Orange County, Riverside, and other parts of SoCal. Amir has built up this business from scratch with a vision to be a big player in the real estate game. He now has 5 total offices local in the South Bay, with over 450 people in his organization.
4 offices, not 5.
4?
No, I want to. My goal is to have 5 offices.
5.
No, so it's 4.
Excuse me, guys.
We're gonna get there, though.
4 offices. We're forecasting the future here. So 4 offices, going on 5, with over 450 people in the organization. Is that right? Amir, thanks for having me. Beautiful office, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful. So
thank you. Thanks for putting this together. I really appreciate that, and
of course
appreciate what you're doing as an entrepreneur starting out.
Mm-hmm.
And it just reminds me a lot of myself. You know, kind of finding different ways to kind of grow my business and doing podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff. And
Totally.
it's definitely been a part of my business too. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and thank you for having me.
No, of course. It's kind of interesting how it all kind of played out and how I got connected to you in the first place. But it's very, very impressive just doing even a little bit of research about what you've been up to and the growth that this business has had, and it's impressive, very impressive. So like I said, what this show and what this podcast and what we're really trying to do here is just build value for the audience and obviously highlight you and what you're up to. So the main 3 topics that I like to talk about are business mindset, business strategy, and then overall just positivity of what you're doing. I know you have a bigger purpose of everything, and it's not just pushing real estate here left and right. You're actually trying to do something good for the local community and for your team and for everybody around as a leader. So I really want to dive into that, and first and foremost, let's just start with how it all started. Who are you? What kind of kid were you? These are all things that I was thinking about and I'm kind of curious about. So
we didn't really talk about that earlier,
right.
So I'll tell you a little bit more. So I was born and raised in the South Bay, and actually went to school in Palos Verdes. So I went to the PV school district.
Which one? Which school?
So we lived over on this side of the hill, on the east side of the hill initially, and I went to Rancho Vista Elementary, and then we moved to Lanada Bay in PV Estates, and so then I transferred to Lanada Bay Elementary, and then I went to PVIS, and then to Peninsula High School. So I was the first full graduating class of Peninsula High School, because they had consolidated all the high schools. And kind of grew up, obviously, in an immigrant family. My father came here in the late 50s, went to school, and finished with a PhD. He was a psychologist, and along the way, his friends always told him to buy real estate, and hold it, and get rental property, and so that's kind of what he did. So years later, he met my mom, went back to the Middle East, met her, married her, brought her over here, and she was highly educated too, and she was a pharmacist, clinical pharmacist, and so between the 2 of them, they had their day jobs, where my dad was in education and a counselor and a college professor, and then my mom was a pharmacist, so they were always working, but along the way, they were picking up a lot of rental property, investment property, and my dad was always searching for deals, foreclosures, going to the banks, looking at the sheets, trying to buy houses directly from the bank. So indirectly that kind of rubbed off on me, and I had, I would go around with him all the time. It was like his little sidekick, until it got to the point where I'm up on roofs, putting new roofs on houses with the gardener for $2 an hour, and painting houses when tenants are moving in and out. And then as I got older, then helping him show property, and then getting credit applications, running credits, and screening tenants to get them into the properties over the years. So I kind of got a taste of the real estate just growing up. I was kind of born into it in that sense. Not in the real estate side, not in the transactional side, not in the sales portion, more in the property management side.
Right, but the actual just true value of what what real estate can do and what it can do for generational wealth, that's crazy. That was instilled in you at a super young age, and you said you painted houses for $2 an hour. Yeah,
that's how I made money as a kid, as a teenager. But it was also the work ethic is really what I learned. I saw, my dad didn't really speak very good English, but had really big degrees. I bought all this rental property. He was working his day job, working his rentals. Same thing with my mom. My mom was always working, so I really was raised in a very strong work ethic background in a sense.
Totally.
I didn't always follow suit with that. It wasn't until later in life, but I always kind of had a job, so I kind of worked with them, worked little loose ends jobs here and there, and had gotten into sales at a young age. And then,
what kind of sales? What were you doing?
Well, the first sales job that I had was selling car stereos, believe it or not. So I was working for Circuit City before while they were in business here on PCH in Crenshaw.
Okay.
And I was like the top car stereo salesperson because I was really into it. That was something I would do. I would tinker with my cars and stuff like that. So I got into that, and then I was doing that while I was in school, and then I went to Long Beach State. So I studied a degree, and my parents told me you got two options. You could be a lawyer or you could be a doctor. So I didn't like science very much, wasn't good at that, and so I studied to be a lawyer. So I did pre-law, I did some basic liberal arts stuff just to try and get me through so I can go sit for the LSAT and then go on to be an attorney.
So you actually pursued it?
Indirectly, yes. Did I go? I go sit for the LSAT and start taking the courses? Yes. But did I go to law school? I did. I did that. But But once I took the LSAT, I realized this is really hard, and I'm not going to do that. So then I had gotten into other sales positions, and I did a lot of inside sales for different types of organizations. So I learned a lot about cold calling and sat in boiler rooms and really dove deep into sales, inside sales, did some outside sales, and then did some retail sales. So towards the later portion of my career, I did a lot of retail sales in the automotive industry. So if you really know me, you know that I'm a car guy. So I worked for large dealerships, franchise dealerships.
Selling cars or?
Selling cars. From selling cars, doing internet sales, being a sales manager, a used car manager.
Internet sales of cars?
Yeah, I was selling cars.
Online?
Yeah. Well, when I say internet, then that means that people would create an internet lead, and you would call them and try and get them in a dealership. So yeah, I was doing a lot of that, and I had all this experience, and I was doing really well at it. But along the way, my mom kept pushing me like, "Hey, get your real estate license," and along the way, I would be helping her with the properties on the side. So I was kind of overwhelmed with working a lot of hours in the automotive industry, and then getting my real estate license and helping her make deals and managing the properties and stuff like that. And then it got to a point where my father had gotten older and sicker, and then he had finally passed away. And then at that point, that's when I really said, okay, I'm going to dive into real estate full time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to quit my day job. And I left a really good job making $20,000 a month, which is not bad, even to today's standards.
And this is when? This is like what, 90s or like what?
No,
early 2000s?
Not 90s. I mean, I'm talking about probably this was literally like 6 or 7 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is remember. So West Shore's been in business for 5 years.
You're a pretty young guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So I just got more gray hairs because I have a lot of agents. But yeah, so I had left the car industry. I had gotten my real estate license. And when I had gotten my real estate license, I hung it with Keller Williams.
Okay.
So I hung it with a big broker in town. And because I was a part-time agent, I wasn't getting any of the attention that I needed to help facilitate transactions that were taking a lot of my money. And I didn't realize that there could be a 100% commission brokerage out there, or a model like that I have today. Right. And frankly, if I had known about that back then, I probably would have
worked under someone else. Maybe?
Yeah, I would have worked under someone else and just not even done this.
Yeah, because why would you at that point? You already got this, thing going here, and you already got the real estate flowing. Might as well go hang it up with someone else instead of
and save the money, right?
Exactly.
But I didn't research well enough. The only thing that I thought to do was to get my broker's license. So that's what I did. And luckily at the time, this was in 2012, you didn't have to have 2 years of real estate experience to get your broker's license. You could supplement that with a college degree. So good thing I studied and I finished my bachelor's degree, so then I could sit for the broker's exam, and that's what I did. So within 6 months of getting my real estate license, I got my broker's license, and then eventually I had left Keller Williams and started my own company. And then at the time, initially, I started my own company, and I was just working for myself. I was working on my family's portfolios of properties, helping out friends, clients here and there, not really where I'm at today.
And this is when you were in the little office, is that right?
Yes. So I left, and I had rented this little office space. It was about 300 or 400 square feet. I was paying like $500-600 a month. I had incorporated my company and just kind of got it all set up, and it was just me. And I remember going on Craigslist and buying and filling up the whole office with furniture for $1,000. And I was so proud of it, and I would go there and I would work, and it had this little, window AC, the thing that, we would crank on, and I loved it. And that's kind of where the whole West Shores thing started, and,
right.
And from there it's kind of grown into what it is now.
I hear a lot of people in the insurance industry talk about this, and maybe you can relate to it too. When you're starting up from scratch and you're in that 300-400 square foot office, they say that sometimes those are the most fun times when you start up a business, or fun moments ever in their careers that they can think of. Did you feel like that was fun, or was it just like torture?
I definitely thought it was fun. We had a lot of fun, actually, and I think it's because when you're just starting out, all you can do is win. I mean, you can fail, but you're not going to lose that much. So you're just running on all these little wins that are constantly happening, and you're not really super exposed. You don't have a lot of expenses or whatever, so it's fun, because it's something new, and you're young and you got your own business. It's like something you can be really proud of, and especially starting from such a small place.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely those little wins that I think that make it exciting.
Totally.
Which I really enjoyed. I look back to those days, had a great time. I hired an assistant, and at the time I had researched a bunch of models. As we talked earlier, I was telling you about I was reading a lot of books. I was reading a book a week for about 6 months, and I researched all these models and real estate, and motivation, and taking care of yourself, all those things, from spiritual to business.
Sure.
And then things just started to blossom from right there.
Amir, did you ever play sports?
I tried. I tried to play basketball in high school, and I tried out freshman year, and everybody was way better than me. So I ended up being the camera guy for the basketball team, and I would go travel with them, and I get all the perks. I would go to tournaments in Vegas and everything. But I wasn't good enough to play.
Okay. The reason I asked is just because I feel like that starting from scratch does take a lot of competitiveness, and it's the determination. I think I see that a lot in athletes too. That's the reason I just thought maybe you were an athlete.
It was never really a competitive thing for me. It was more of me trying to achieve my goals.
Right.
Right now in this space, there is that sense of competitiveness when you're going against the other companies, and the other companies we compete against. We compete for agents.
Right.
We take agents from each other. They go back and forth, and there's always this underlying competition going on that we don't really vocalize. But I think in our offices, when we lose an agent, or if we take one from another office, where it's like either we're screaming or we're happy, and yelling about the other brokerage. But initially, it was more about the goals that I wanted to achieve personally, and I had that competitive nature just because I had always been successful in sales, and that's why I had moved my way up the ladder in the automotive world so quickly, was because I was very competitive there. I had a family to feed. I had a lot of things that I needed to accomplish in my life, and that kind of set the tone for me in this industry. That thrive, that sense of urgency, the energy that you put into it, the work ethic, it just kind of all flowed right into this, and that's part of why I'm successful today.
Sure. Yeah, I think I want to touch on something specifically when it comes to the mindset about what it takes, and kind of, your day-to-day routines, and kind of, it takes a certain type of person and personality, I think, to do what you've done. It's not the average person that goes out and starts a business from scratch and 5 years later grows it to 4 agencies or 4 offices and so many people in the organization. Also very impressive with the speed of it. What do you think it took to, or what do you think was part of the factor of in that mindset of getting it that quickly to grow within those 5 years?
I think there were a lot of factors that went into place. At the time, so it was a really tough time in my life. So I lost my father, left a high-paying job. I had also just gone through, or was in the middle of a divorce just shortly after that. So it was kind of at this point where I went from being up here, kind of slammed down here.
Right. Yeah.
However, there were some other things that were going well in my life, which was I had gotten really into waking up early and going to the gym. and taking care of my health, because I had watched my father suffer from being overweight and have a lot of diseases associated to that. So that really helped make me change my lifestyle and the way I ate, the way I exercised, how I treated my body. So there was that portion to it. And then obviously, you know, with all the things happening and it kind of restarting, it's like I hit the reset button on my life. So that was kind of like like where I started at that point. So I was on this uphill battle, but I was motivated to get back to where I was and being, obviously, making money, being very successful, you know, having the things that I wanted to have in my life.
But this time, all for yourself, with your own.
Right, all with myself. I didn't have a wife telling me I couldn't do it. You know, I didn't have a mom telling me I couldn't do it. I didn't have anybody in my way. It was just me, right? Yeah. So, and I think that's beneficial to a lot of entrepreneurs. If it's just you, there's nobody over you telling you or discouraging you and stuff like that, because I think support is a big part of being a successful entrepreneur, is surrounding yourself around the right people. So, totally. You know, at the time I was working out in PV at the Equinox, and I was associating with a lot of high-profile people, making new friends.
How many of those do you actually think turned into like real, I mean, did they really, or was it just the actual being around them, or was a lot of it actually translated into business like success? Do you think that was?
Well, there was that, you know, rubbing shoulders with people, with, you know, doctors, attorneys, big businessmen, CEOs, and those guys became my friends, my buds. We were gym buds, right? So obviously some of them actually turned into clients. There you go. Just because I was there and they're like, hey, I got to sell my house, you know, why don't you come by? I was like, cool. You know, so that helped the business, but just kind of being around those kinds of people made me think, well, you know what, they're not better than me, you know, I can do what they can do, you know, it's just me getting in the way. So mindset, yes, you know, I think there's multiple different levels of the mindset that are highly important. So for me, I came down, crashing down in my life in a lot of areas, on my way up in other areas in my health, and then now it was the business that I had to master, right? Yeah. So I already knew I had the good work ethic. I already knew that I was a good salesperson. I already knew that I could manage people because I had done that prior. Right. Now, how could I do that with a broker's license and a $500 a month office, 300 square foot office, right? So like I mentioned, you know, filling my brain with so much information and data, and reading a book a week and going through all these books about, you know, really high-end real estate agents to different brokerages, motivational, spiritual books, you know, about exercise, health, all of those things, how to, you know, kind of live on a different level. So I filled my brain with that, and so that was my mindset. So now all I had to do was do the work, because I had it all figured out. I did all my homework, now I just had to do it. So my schedule was, I woke up, and I still do to this day, wake up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, work out for an hour, hour and a half, shower, pray, meditate, eat, coffee, work, and start that day over and over and over, and show up to work and make it happen. Now, in the midst of that, you have to have goals, right? You have to think, okay, what do I want to do? You know, what are my goals,
right? You gotta know where you're going with all that.
You gotta have a path, you know, and still to this day, I have my path of how much money I want to make, how many agents I want to have, how many offices I want to have. Still to that day, I'm in the mindset, I'm in the grind mindset, where I'm always grinding, I'm always trying to get to the next level. Where I'm at today is not where I want to be. I still have that mindset, like, I don't have anything and I'm still starting from scratch and I have to grind every day. And I think that mindset is critical for any entrepreneur, because once you figured out, like, I got 4 offices, I got 450 agents, I got money coming in, it's all good. Right. You get comfortable, then you get lazy, then you get complacent. Oh, yeah. You know, your ego kicks in, and then now all of a sudden, you know, you lose business, you lose agents, you lose clientele. And you get too comfortable, and then things fall apart. I've watched it happen to so many people, even in your industry. I know people that happens all the time, because they get in that build mindset, and they get comfortable, and they have the assistants do everything, and everything falls apart. Right? So,
what do you? Okay, so I want to touch on that, because I'm, you know, I think I'm on that, you know, path to potentially getting to the size of one day, hopefully being where you guys are at with in an insurance world. But sure. What do you do to kind of resell yourself on that, like, concept, like, hey, this is day one, you know, this is not, you know, forget how many agents we have, forget how many offices we have, this is day one and I'm not even close. Is it just kind of viewing your goals on a daily? Is it like looking at that, or?
That's definitely part of it, and you know, one of my mentors or coaches that I would follow would be Grant Cardone, and Grant Cardone says 10x everything.
Yep.
Right. So I could have a goal of saying I want to get to 100 agents, right? But I could easily hit that.
Yeah.
And once I hit that, okay, where do I go? I got to set another goal. No, my goal was not 100 agents when I started out. My goal was 1,000 agents.
Awesome.
And so right now on this day, I'm like halfway towards my goal. I'm like, I still got a lot of work to do.
Right.
So the idea was setting such a large goal to where it's almost unobtainable to some people. Be like, that's never going to happen. In your heart, you know you could probably do it, but it's such a large goal that you have to keep grinding to get there. Now, till I get to 1,000, what am I going to do? I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You know,
You're not that far off.
call me in 5 years. But I think one thing is having a large enough goal. And but not forgetting at that point to celebrate the small wins. You know, high five, and we got that agent.
Totally.
You know, we got all these little wins. We're getting that new office. Those are the small, like, high fives along the way. But you know, it's the work's not done.
So as far as the actual like nitty gritty work, what was like? Was there one factor that you think maybe was the catalyst that really kind of sparked you guys? Because when you do 10x your activity levels, you're reaching out to more people. Are you making better conversion rates? Are you getting better at sales? Like, what really was the actual physical nitty gritty of that work process that got you to the speed? I really want to touch on that speed, because 5 years to get to where you're at is extremely impressive. So,
it's part of me really enjoyed the recruiting component of it.
Gotcha.
Right, and in my industry, being a broker, you got to have people. You know, and I always tell my agents, without you, I'm nothing. I'm just you. I'm not. You're not nothing. But what I'm saying is, I can't be a broker without my agents.
Sure.
So we have created this marketing campaign and this recruiting campaign that was so simple, but we worked really hard at it, and we consistently were on it. And I trained people to do it, and we were always on the phones recruiting, and that was the main thing that kept the company going. I focused just on the recruiting, and with that came more people, more transactions, more experience, and then things just started expanding. And I think because I had the tunnel vision on that portion, which led to my growth in brokerage. Now, and for you, for insurance, or for another industry, you might just be focusing in on getting clients. If you just focus on ways to get clients, and that's all you do, you will be successful in whatever it is. And that's what I tell my realtors. If you just focus on getting your clients and getting leads, then you're going to be successful. But we get sidetracked on different things. And so I really put a big, strong emphasis on that. Even to this day, I've got 3 or 4 people that are calling, texting, emailing. We're doing social media blasts. Social media was a big portion of our growth. Online presence, making sure that you look good online, because who wanted to work with a no-name brokerage? We had to make sure that our website looked good, that our social media channels look good, because that's where people go to look people up. Like YouTube's the new Google. Same thing with Facebook and Instagram. So ensuring all that was in play, and then there's things just start happening.
Right. Right. What about the actual and this is something I've been thinking about a ton too with just my business and how I'm going to try to get better conversion rates. The actual sales production and performance production requirements. Do you have anything like that in place for your agents, or do you have any training specifically to increase that for them? Their chances of closing a deal versus not closing a deal between 1 and 2 agents.
That was another big thing. So for those that know me, they know that my model is a 100% model. And so you have a really good deal on commission. You get 100% of your commission. I take a broker fee out, you keep the rest. It's a great deal. It allows a lot of agents to save a lot of money and do things for their family that they couldn't normally do.
For sure.
So that's one thing. But the other portion to my brokerage is the training, where we have coaching, mentoring, and training 5 days a week. We have classes, yes, day and night classes. So I cater to the part-time agent, because I was the part-time agent that was working during the day and didn't have anybody to talk to at night to help me through my deal. So we have classes at night and classes at day.
Wow, you're even at night.
And now we're doing it all on Zoom.
Oh, okay. Is it you coaching, or do you hire people out, or?
Well, I've hired coaches and mentors for different offices that teach classes for me. And when they're working with the new agents, they get like a mentorship split of the transaction.
Gotcha.
So they get like a cut of the deal. I just get my broker fee, and their reward for teaching the class is that they get
that's
that
awesome
portion. So
it's huge, right?
So yeah, it is. And you got to think, well, we're in a 100% model. How are you going to have training? Because that's the big misconception, is that because 100%, you're not going to get support, you're not going to get training. But that's where I really made sure we have that in different levels. Even the point where every agent has my cell phone number, and they can call me and they can text me anytime if there's an issue or an emergency with 450 people. I mean, my phone's on do not disturb right now. But that's okay. Each office has people. And we have 5 coaches right now, 4 transaction coordinators, an office manager in each location. So there's tons of support around you if you want it. Going back to your question as far as sales and policies and different things, we have policies and procedures in place. We also have really great sales training where we coach you from every portion of the deal, from the marketing component, the prospecting, the cold calling, the paperwork component. We have our way of doing business. That's, of course, compliant. We have an internal legal team as well that reviews everything. So we have the compliance, we have the training and the systems in place, and we even we wrote a script book.
That's awesome.
We wrote an agent planner to assist on your daily activities, what you should be doing to be successful. So we have everything in place, and if you want the help, we're here. But I can't force everybody to go out and do it. That's the problem.
Right. And so you said you do have, your full-time, your part-time, and then you're even, I think you said there was one other.
It's a full-time, part-time, and sometimes agent.
Sometimes.
So
okay.
No matter what agent you are, we will cater to you. But unfortunately, the way the industry is, most people get their license because they may want to go buy a house and they want to save money on the commission, or they know that their mom's going to be selling their house, and they're like, well, when I bought a house, it seemed like the realtor, it was an easy job, so I can do that, and then they get their license and realize I have no sales, and then you tell them it's a sales job and you need to make phone calls, do marketing, spend money, and they're like, I don't like making calls and I don't want to spend any money. Okay, well then they'll sit and the license will just sit there, and that's the sometimes agent.
You guys do cold calling?
We do. We train on that 3 times a week. We have cold calling clinics 2 hours a day. We provide phone numbers and email addresses and agents and the script book. We have a full script book we hand out, and they can get on the phone to make calls.
What about like referral business? Do you guys have like a referral business kind of portion of what's coming in, or is it mainly just the cold calling? Where is most of your guys' stuff coming from?
It's hard to say. I mean, for me personally, my own personal business is mainly friends, family, referral. I don't actively put myself out there. I do market my listings and my closings with mailers and stuff like that, but I don't do a whole lot. Gotcha. Only because I have so much other stuff to do to maintain. But you get it any way you can. Some agents are hammering the phones all day long, calling expireds, calling canceled listings, and just calling around our listings and getting leads through that. And some people have a good enough network through the schools, the soccer team. There are other industries. Some people work in other industry and funnel in leads from their other industry into the real estate world.
Right.
So
but you guys are giving them all the tools possible so that they can, close more deals, be more successful, and change their own lives. Is that right? So
absolutely, and that's what this is all about. And that's where I thought the industry had its issue, was the fact that I just felt like I was giving all my money away and I wasn't getting the support, and no one really cared about my success. So I figured at a minimum I can let people keep their money and give them the support and give them as much as I can with what I got. And I feel like I'm in this, part of my purpose right now is to give back. This is the way I can give back, is I can be available to people, help people change their lives, achieve their goals, teach them about sales, teach them about real estate, have them understand the process, and do with it as they may. They may take it and run with it and be successful, and we have a lot of agents that are like that. They may just listen to it and not do anything, and there's a ton of agents like that too. So, but at least I'm there and I'm giving back, and I think that's been a big portion of my success, is being available, being giving of my time, not nickel and diming agents and charging them for every little thing, and just giving as much as I can, and just having enough to take care of myself and my family and continue on with this process.
I think it's huge as a leader, just to have that bigger purpose constantly in front of you, because that's what really is. Would you say that that's a majority of what's keeping you rolling and keeping you, keeping you going towards that, bigger purpose of, serving other people? Is that,
It's a big portion of what keeps me going is being able to serve people in that manner. And, I didn't become a preacher or I didn't become a doctor or something to where I can, help people that are sick and dying or heal people in whatever way. But, I have this opportunity to give back to people, allow them to be successful, and so they can give back to their families, achieve their goals, and help their churches or whatever they're into, and I kind of feel like I'm just like this vessel sometimes where things just flow, energy, knowledge, money is just coming through my license and through the company, and we've been doing really well. We have a lot of loyal agents, from the beginning that have been with me, and there's no question about where else they would go hang their license because we give so much, and I'm always available, and that goes a long way. So
that's
with
awesome.
People.
I know it's not easy. Did you have that envisioned from like day one, the culture that's really what you wanted to have in place? Like, did you really have that planned out, or did this kind of just go as, were you just flying and, fixing it as you went, or how did you go about?
Yeah, we talked about that. It kind of started out in the manner of I felt my frustrations with the industry, and I want to be able to provide a service to agents to where they could keep their money, and then they would be frustrated and be available.
And how early was that? Was that early
That
on?
was very early on, because I was frustrated because I never even met the broker at the office, and I could never get help. So even to this day, if an agent calls me or texts me on the weekend or at night, I'm responding. Like, even though I may not want to, I may be doing something else, or maybe with my family, but I consider my agents my family too. And if they need me at 7 o'clock at night and they're in a jam, even 9 o'clock at night or on the weekends, I'm going to be there for them, because they're working for me, and and I feel like I don't want them to have that same experience of being at night or on the weekends and having nobody to talk to get them through a situation, because it could be a very small situation for me, but it could be a big thing for them.
Totally.
And being able to coach them through that, it's very rewarding,
For sure.
That's for sure. But going back to your flying the plane thing, in a lot of ways, I feel like, and I've been told this by my friends, is that we're flying a jet but building it at the same time. So we're up in the air, we're moving forward, but we're like, hey, we got to put this piece on and this piece on, and that's the biggest advice that I could give for entrepreneurs is like, hey, don't worry about all the little details.
Right.
Just show up and do the work, and all the other things we'll figure out as you go. Legal stuff, HR stuff, payroll stuff, all the little things that come along. Like, I don't know HR or payroll. I didn't think that I was going to have all these other insurances and different things going on. But as you go, people will tell you, oh, you need this. Oh, do you have this? Totally. And you're like, nope, but I'm going to go get that. Oh, nope, we're going to get this too. Oh, do you have a compliance department? Nope, don't have that, but you know what? I'm going to get that too. Or do you have legal? Nope, but I'm going to get an attorney on retainer. So it's like, as you go, we're building this thing up and just getting better and stronger. And with more money flows, you can just do more stuff and be better.
Totally.
But it all comes from the hard work. You can't get the money without the hard work to start.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting balance of like how much you need to put up front, how much wood you need to put into the fire before you start to get the heat from the fire, versus when is it time to really start delegating and start adding on to the jet that's flying already. And I know the struggle too. I was the first 6 months of me launching my business. I don't know if you even know, but we recently started in the last 2.5 years. The first 6 months, I don't even count them, because there was so much of just figuring out what's this, what's that, how do you even start a corporation, LLC, how do you get payroll, how do you get tax, like all this stuff is just, it's not fun necessarily, but at the end of the day, when you look back at it, it's rewarding, would you say? Or
Right, it definitely is rewarding. You have more tools in your belt, right? Totally. It'll allow you to do other things in life, and it'll also allow to help other people that may want to do what you're doing. And that's what I see a lot in your YouTube channel, is that you're helping people, new agents that want to get started in the business, and I think that's really cool.
That was interesting. I completely fell into that. I had no, my intuition when I was early starting up, I kind of had this intuition that I should just be recording everything that I knew. And I just started putting that stuff out there, and I just fell into that, kind of consulting other agents starting up. So, I'm grateful for the little bit of attention I've gotten from that. But it's interesting what it can do. The power of getting your, what you're up to and documenting. Even this interview, maybe one day you look back at it and it'll be interesting to see 5 years from now, like this is what you were doing today. So it's always nice.
Sure. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah. What would you say is, Amir, the biggest challenge that you faced? Was it actually getting the actual structure of everything, or like the hiring process? What was like the biggest challenge if you had to choose? I know there's probably so many, but like if you had to choose one that you would say like, dude, that was not easy, or even now.
I think right now, well, it's hard to say because there were a bunch of different challenges. I think for me, the challenge was having the courage to expand. Because there's so much uncertainty with this, and that's the biggest thing. Yeah, you know what? I set up an escrow company. I set up a natural hazard disclosure company. I did that. Wow. There's people you can pay to help you do that. That's fine. But I think the courage, and it's still happening today, the courage to expand and put yourself out there and grow to the next office or the next level. That's probably the hardest thing to do. A lot of times I do without thinking, and then I do it, and then I think later and I go, am I crazy? Now, obviously opening up 2 new offices in the middle of a pandemic, am I crazy? A lot of times I thought that, especially when it first hit. But with the real estate market being on fire, you know what? It all worked out.
Wow.
But to take the next step to the bigger thing is, I think, the toughest thing. And then obviously all of some of the things I struggle with are all the internal stuff. The stuff I don't like, the structural, it's the organization stuff, the HR stuff, processes, the payroll, procedures. All that, what's the best thing to do, the taxes, this and that. All that stuff, I do not, it's not fun. But they don't teach you any of that stuff for when you get your license. None of this stuff as you become a broker.
They barely teach you how to. If you want to get your license, at least for insurance, they barely even teach you how to sell. You don't know how to sell a policy, and at least from insurance.
Right, you don't know how to sell a house either.
No,
not real estate. So those are some of the major struggles that I've gone through. But the courage, and having faith that everything's going to be okay. I think that's a big part of. That's, I think, kind of like the icing on the cake for any entrepreneur is faith. I think that you kind of have to believe in something to kind of get through this, because there's going to be the days where you're going to be freaked out when you're going to get yourself into a situation and you're not going to be able to call your boss and say, what should we do next?
Oh, for sure.
Right? You're going to have to figure out a lot of things on your own. Having faith in yourself, maybe faith in a higher power that say, hey, get me through this. You got me to this point. Don't let me down. I won't let you down, and I'm going to get to the next level. We're going to get through this together. That's another key component into the entire mix of this. Right. And if you work hard, God works with you, I think, and I think that's the big component here in this is I worked really hard. I was doing good for people, and and good things are happening for us.
Right.
And so
I'm glad you even brought that point up, because I don't think enough entrepreneurs mention that aspect of running the business and the spiritual side of it. I think it's huge. I also, put a lot of stuff on my faith and a higher power as well, in God. So I think it's even the courage to speak it out loud and to say it, and for other people out there, hopefully that resonates with other people and they'll speak it out as well, because it's super important. I think you're right. There's days where you want to just completely not give up, obviously, because you've already put in so much, but it feels like you're getting just held back by the world, and man, you just got to keep going, huh?
Right.
So,
I mean, some days you're going to have your stress levels up here, and sometimes it's going to be down here, and sometimes it's going to hover around here. So there's a lot of ups and downs in owning your own business, and when it gets to up here, having some sort of outlet to kind of
Totally.
You know, have faith that things are going to be okay, I think is definitely critical.
And that goes for everybody too, not just the entrepreneurs or the owners. It's also the team and the people out there on the field working hard, because there might be times where you're working on a deal that you're at the 11th inning, you're ready to go, ready to take payment, ready to, close the deal, go through escrow, and then they pull out or something happens, and then that's what you were planning on having for your family for, the next 3
You've already got the car picked out of the dealership, or your vacation picked out, or whatever, right? You see that a lot, and I get those phone calls a lot from agents, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe."
What do you suggest in that situation?
Well, you got to do everything that you can to kind of keep the transaction going, and if you can't, if you've gone through everything, you can't make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Keep going. You know what? I mean, don't let it discourage you. You have to continue this fight. You're not going to make every deal. Unfortunately, there's going to be deals that you lose. You're going to lose to a competitor. They change their mind. Whatever the situation is, but you can't just give up on one deal.
For sure.
There's agents that do hundreds of deals a year. You're going to miss out on. You're going to quit because of one deal. You can't do that. You got to keep fighting.
Right. Yeah. Or just even don't forget about it, and don't have it. It's good to let it go. Don't let it carry on to the next deal. But at the same time, learn from and analyze what happened, what went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Learn from it. Adjust, move on to the next one, and don't let that carry on to the next one. That's the way I like to think about it, just because it can throw off your vibe a little bit. Next thing you know, you're in a funk, and then...
Right. I mean, you don't want to just end up depressed because you fell out of escrow. You want to keep working to get back into it, and it's... For sure. I think it's having that level of acceptance of going, okay, this one didn't work out, but we're going to make it to the next one. And the other side of that is when you get the win, to take that win and take that energy, the good energy, and give that to your clients and to your family and friends, and then to help get to the next deal. The best time to call a client is after you made a sale.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You know that in your business too,
totally,
right? You're feeling great. You get a $5,000-$6,000 policy, and you're like, let me get on the next phone call because I just made that big deal, right?
And the thing is that sometimes you make that deal and you get all hyped up, and you say, I'm good for the day. Like I made the deal. I'm good. And then that's where you need to remind yourself, this is not where you stop. This is where you keep going.
I see it all the time with agents. They make the deal. All of a sudden I look on Facebook. They're in the Bahamas. They're at the dealership. They're doing stuff with their family. And I'm like, don't kill the momentum.
Right.
Keep it going.
Exactly.
There's so much more you can do. It's not time to retire after one sale. But,
for sure.
We're in Southern California, and sometimes one sale, you could do 1 or 2 sales a year and make a lot of money.
Out here, it might work. Well, Amir, we're going to wrap it up. That was pretty much, I got a lot of good value, and I want to respect your time as well. Do you have, this is the last question for you, do you have any, mantras or like go-to quotes that you live by or that you like to preach to your team that you can share with us?
That's a good one. I have my own internal mantras, and I'm not going to share that with you because it's a little embarrassing. But I do have mantras that I say to myself on a daily basis that part of my vision and a part of how I want to live and how I want to be as a broker. But I think the main mantra that I like to share with my agents, going back to faith a little bit, is obviously if you work hard, God works with you. So everything happens for a reason. Have faith, work hard, and things will happen for you.
Totally.
So
that's awesome.
That's it. That's my spiel.
Thank you, Amir. I appreciate you having me. I look forward to seeing you hit these massive goals. Hopefully we look back on this in less than 5 years and you already got 1,000 agents and you're hitting your goals. So thank you. I appreciate it. I would shake your hand, but I think it's right now is not the time because of the whole situation in the world. But thank you, Amir. I appreciate it and look forward to seeing you in the near future.
All right. Thank you, Chris. This has been great.